Wait. Now it's live? Now it's live. Nope. Wow. Wow. I've been speaking for a few minutes now. I'm gonna cut this part. I'm sorry, people. So you know what? YouTube is so smart that I press start live, I switch the tab to something else, and then it just doesn't start. It just doesn't begin. So now I switch back to the tab of live streaming, and yeah, shame on you, YouTube. And you're even down. It was even down today. So anyway, let's start again. Let's do it again. All right. Okay. Cue PlayStation 1, Metal Gear, Gran Turismo, Crash Bandicoot. Those were the days, right? Ape Escape, right? And then, why Zelda? Why Nintendo and PlayStation? What is it? I just love the sounds. And this gives me time to set up, prepare, have a sip of water, and roll in. Hola community. Now I can say hola. So the explanation at the beginning, actually I said that if I start the video saying hola community, like I usually do, sometimes YouTube will think that the video is in Spanish, even though the rest of the video is in English. So that's pretty weird. So I will, hey, shame on you. Why is shame on me? Shame on me. Hey, shame on YouTube that doesn't know how to change tabs. No, Chrome. I'm using Chrome and YouTube. What else? Google. What else do you want from me? This week we have big announcements. We have big things coming up. There's two big things happening this week. One, my birthday tomorrow, and the second one, maybe it's also kind of important. Blender 2.92 is moving phases. It's moving from the Beacon 1, which is a stage where everything is awesome and you just, yeah, new feature, yes, throw it in, just let's get the Blender bigger and better. And it's moving to the stage, the second stage, Beacon 2, which means, okay, now we have all these amazing features, let's make them more stable and better. So if there's any polishing that requires maybe a new feature but is related to that one feature, then it's okay, it's allowed to be in. But you won't see any huge like features dropping in where we shouldn't, developers shouldn't add from Wednesday. Wednesday is when it happens. So from Wednesday on, it shouldn't happen until January. In January, there will be the change to Beacon 3, which means Blender 2.92 will become beta, and Blender 2.93 will start in January, in 1 month from now. 2.93, we're gonna be talking about 2.93. What the heck? What is wrong? What is these developers don't stop? It's holiday time. We should have less things to talk about in the next 2 episodes, which are gonna be the last ones of the year, 21st and the 28th. Should we do it? Shall we? Yeah, we should do it. We should do it. You know what we should also do? We should check Blender.Today. Yeah, that is a website. .today, it's the domain that we chose, the name of the domain that is going to redirect you to the community, to BlenderToday community. Here, you're going to find a post that Momotron made. Thank you, Momo, for, whoa, somebody's been looking at my designs and adding stuff. Okay, no spoilers. We're gonna be looking and trying to answering these towards the end of the show, towards the second part of the show, or whenever we reach the moment where we can actually talk, because there are news. There are plenty of news. Geometry nodes, cycles, EV, you name it. All right, let's begin. Wanna begin? All right, cue the Mario pipe. I call it Mario pipe. Is the geometry nodes. Let's start with a bang. The geometry nodes project got 2 new nodes, improvements on the existing nodes, and let's see a bit more. Okay, first one, there's a new node that is based on feedback, actually. And well, everything is based on feedback, but this one in particular is based on an observation by the developer Hans Goody that he saw on the forums, people sharing their setups. They were doing things like this. So basically, having a random attribute node, which allows you to randomize, right, and give it a minimum and maximum. But people were plugging in the same value in the minimum and the maximum. That gives you nothing. So basically, it just fills the entire attribute with a value, with the same value. So yeah, that is a workaround that people were doing when they couldn't have a way to, you know, to fill a node. So now you're gonna find it. It's called attribute fill, and it should do what you expect, basically. So since the minimum and maximum are the same, it just fills every element of the attribute with the same value. This is an unfortunate hacky way to do this, and this makes sense to have a specific node. Yes, it does. An immediate use case is for billboard scattering, for example. So if you just want to fill the whole planet with the same value, or with a vector, or with a float, you can just use that. So yeah, have you guys and girls played with geometry nodes already? Is it your favorite tool? Is it your least favorite tool? Yes, you have billboards. Yeah. Super cool. Where do you find it? In the same place as always. You can remember, you can also just simply use the files that are available that the artists are sharing, and by artists I mean Simon. He's been sharing in the Geometry Nodes project on developer.blender.org. Actually, if you go here, Geometry Nodes, in developer.blender.org, you're gonna find for example, some sample files. And you're gonna find the scattering pebbles and the trees and flowers scattering, where you can get these super cool files to not start, you know, from scratch, to have something to play with. And so we've seen the random attribute, we've seen the attribute fill, and the next one that we're gonna see is a new attribute mix. So the same way you can mix, you can mix colors, you can mix shaders. Well, now you can also mix geometry. You have a bunch of modes to mix it. Then you can choose, okay, what is it? An attribute or a float? And you can choose either a factor or use another attribute to mix these attributes, A and B, and then get a result. So you can go nuts from here. You can choose from a color, mix it with a whatever, and then write it in that attribute. It's just, yeah, it's very flexible, as we can see. Let's see what the developers have to say about it. This was implemented by Jack Luke. So let's see. This implements the mix attribute node as described in the name of the task. And it has even a blend file where we can test it. Let's try. So let's see. Where is it? Here. So mix test.blend. I'm gonna drag and drop it in Blender. Let's see. This drag and drop feature was also implemented by Jack Luke, by the developer that made the attribute mix node. He also made this drag and drop menu. Isn't that great? That's I don't know if it's of any kind of help, this information, but I find it funny and interesting. So okay, attribute mix. So what am I mixing here? I'm mixing the position, so the position of each one of the vertices, with the B attribute, which is actually A, and this A is this random attribute. So this is what I'm actually changing the position, random, and then overriding basically the position of the points. Interesting. And with this, I see I can make it either more. Can I do my minimum? Yes, I can go the other way around, -1. Yeah, basically it's just like adding more to it, adding this value on top of the current position. That's cool. Next. the other, actually that we can already see in the point distribution. So I had a file here where I was going to show you that the point instance node now not only can instance objects, now it can also instance whole collections. And at the moment is randomly picked, I think. Let's go to the commit log. In the meantime, I'm gonna get some water, some mate. Let's see what Jack says. Let's see. In the point instance node, one can choose between instancing an object or an entire collection. Currently, when collection is selected, every object in the collection will be instanced at every point. Oof. Okay, that can be heavy. Every object in every point. Instancing a different object or collection on each point will be implemented in a separate patch. That will also require a solution to this task. Isn't it cool that you can actually just go and see the, like, follow the discussion? It's like, okay, what is this implementation? This is following in the this is following this task, where this is the discussion. Nodes required to make the random attributes to produce stable outputs for scattering. And you can see the file and you can see the task, where the task is to make a stable point random attribute for Pebbles use case. What does it mean? It means that if you change values, or it should always be stable, as in the position of the the particles that you're, or the points that you're distributing, should be always stable. That's super important. That's, I would say, is even one of the most important things, because the current system in Blender is really not super reliable when dealing with when distribution, basically. So sometimes it will happen that one frame is fine, then the next frame it's in some other place. Also, we had this issue a lot in all the open movie projects that we worked, and yeah, it's not super neat. Actually, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's like you send a project to render, and then the next day it's yeah, not nice. Let's move on. What else? Oh, nice. This is when developers work with each other. So the developer that is working on all the library stuff, like library overrides, it's also joining forces, and he made it so now all the properties that you expose in the modifier, in the geometry nodes modifier, can be overridden, can be overridden. So you can add overrides on your own geometry nodes modifiers that you link in another object. You know, you can already apply overrides on the existing modifiers. This is super nice. So yeah, it's all coming together. There is a meme, right, for the it's all coming together, I think. See, yeah, exactly. Yes, this one. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. Yeah, this one. Next, in this one, well, this is more of a work in progress, basically. I think it's related to something that's coming up, which is the support for meshes to distribute objects. Right now, you can only do point instance and point distribute in the point cloud objects, but now soon you're gonna be able to do it in meshes too. So maybe we can even get rid of the point cloud object, because really doesn't have any use at the moment, and it's just there in Blender without any use. If we're gonna not need it for this, then why having it, right? I think so. Unless somebody is already using it for something amazing, well, please then share. But it doesn't have any functionality. It doesn't have edit mode. It doesn't have I think you can only do like instancing like duplis in the past. I think so. Point clouds for 3D scans. Yeah, it would be cool, but if right now it doesn't have any use, so you have to come up with a use case. All right, time to change gears, change topics. Eevee. All right, so there's a few things that I need to show you here. So the first one is a commit related to Cryptomat, which was added to Eevee last week. Now Eevee is at the same level as Cycles in terms of Cryptomat, but even more, because now apparently apply volume transmittance to Eevee. What does it mean? This patch will add volumetric transmittance to the Cryptomat's coverage data of all samples when post-processing the Cryptomat passes. It was discussed with Cycles that this is desired, but tricky to implement in Cycles. So, yeah, there Cycles, not there for you yet, unless this commit changes my mind. This one says, and it was actually committed this morning at 9 AM, add volume transmittance to color render passes. Alright, in Eevee, so it's only in Eevee. Volume transmittance and color render passes. In Cycles, the volume transmittance is already composite into the color passes. In Eevee, the volume transmittance pass was separate and needed to be composite in the compositor. This patch adds the volume transmittance pass direct in the next render passes: diffuse color, specular color, emission, and environment. This patch includes the removal of the volume transmittance render pass. It also renames the volume render passes to match Cycles. Hey, this seems like a big patch. We need pictures. Well, it's probably just UI. It removes the volume transmittance render pass. I guess there is some kind of versioning, so yeah, exactly here. When you see that there is like versioning, that means that it's a part of the code that says, hey, for old files, when you can't find whatever because it got renamed or there is a new theme setting, for example, do this, run this code. So, okay, so this is the renaming of the render layer socket and removing the transmittance pass for each view layer. Okay, so no harm should be done. Test it, please, people. Let's test these things. Because the developers test it, of course, but you should test it with your own file. So if you've been using this pass, the volume transmittance, please test. All right, I think it's time to move topics. Here, animators. Users of the NLA non-linear animation editor in Blender, now you can use overrides as well. You can leave override, add initial support for adding new NLA tracks. What? So interesting. Okay, let's read this one together. Also makes NLA tracks and strips overrideable. So users can either edit existing strips in the NLA but not add or remove them, or add new NLA tracks. Okay, so they can either edit or add new NLA tracks but not remove them. I don't understand. Edit or add new, but then it says not add or remove them. Okay, this is confusing. Most of the work was, as usual, checking operators and adding protections against illegal operations in override. Okay, now I'm a bit confused, but maybe you guys can help. Users can edit existing strips in the NLA and or add new NLA tracks after those coming from the link data. Sounds very exciting. And another reason to use the NLA editor. But let's move to something that is more familiar to me. Cycles, improvements, optics. This is mainly for optics. So add CPU and GPU rendering support with optics. Cycles needs support for building multiple VVH types in order to support both, using both the CPU and the GPU, in this case optics. I think with this release, like with 2.92, optics is really at the level that that CUDA has, I think. Tested with the benchmark scenes and one using motion blur to ensure everything is working with various devices. It was tested with CPU, CUDA, optics, 2 CUDAs, 2 optics, CPU plus 2 CUDA, CPU plus optics, and 2 optics. Nice. Oh yeah, in the chat, someone is saying that I missed the eclipse. I know, there is an eclipse in the southern hemisphere, and it was the best place in all of Argentina to see it. It was gonna be like next to where I live, in El Calafate in Argentina. Ay, ay, ay. It's okay. It's okay. It's been a tough year for everybody. Let's go and see the next topic, because optics keeps getting improvements. Enable baking panel in optics and redirect those requests to CUDA for now. So optics at the moment doesn't support apparently. However, it can, before it was hiding the panel altogether for baking. Now you can actually use it like if it was supported, but all of those tasks are gonna be moved into CUDA. Victor, are you from Mexico? I just said that I am from Argentina. I even have the flag here. Mexico's flag is like the Italian one, but moved. It's like the Netherlands and France. They couldn't come up with a flag, so they turned it around. And okay, let's continue. And this one, I think with that last change, I think we're safe to say that Cycles remove optics support is experimental notice. So optics no longer experimental. Congratulations, optics. You earned it. I think it's something to celebrate. Next one in line should be, you know which one. Micropoly displacement. Come on. It's been there for years. It should not longer be experimental. The next, exactly, yeah, Gregor. Yes, no, it's not retopology, the micropoly displacement. Belgium and Germany flag is also flipped. Yeah, I didn't know. What's up, Europe? Come on, in Europe. At some point, I think they should just make new flags. They should just come up with new ones. I really like the Amsterdam flag, but you have there. It's not for adult making films. The XXX there is part of the Amsterdam flag, and because I live in Amsterdam and I really love the flag, represent. Let's continue. Fun with flags, exactly. Eric, fun with flags. That's a reference to Big Bang Theory when it was good. Next, enable OpenCL rendering on recent Intel GPUs. Hey, this is huge. So OpenCL rendering is now enabled on recent GPU. So if it doesn't say which generation is it, right? Or maybe in the commit itself. No, it's actually a very small commit. But this is super good. Intel new 11,000 series will have XE GPUs. Okay, so this is the one. 11,000. Okay, so it's really recent. But that's awesome. So based on testing by Intel, rendering on Iris GPU and upcoming XE GPUs should work. This is enabled on Windows and Linux. More testing is needed to verify correctness and performance in production scenes, but our basic benchmark files seem to give correct results. This is another screaming for testing, please, for help. Community, please test. Test and report. If it's faster, if it's not how you would expect it, if it's slower. If it's not faster, then that's okay. But if it's actually slower, that's when you should start reporting. All right. What else? Blender flag is the best. We don't have a Blender flag. Brazilian flag is the only one with that diamond shape. I know. Brazilian, I think it's a bit too busy, the Brazilian flag. And yes, and I wrote Brazil with S because in Spanish is, and in Portuguese is with S. I think it's a bit too busy. Just too many stars. Just well, the American one is even more stars. I don't know if they make any 27 to be exact. and then text. It's a bit too much. Next, modeling. Let's switch into modeling. And today it really became a fun with flags episode of Blender Today. Let's see. Add connected mode to the Weld modifier. So developer Henrik Dick Wiesel, he implemented an improvement from this task for Weld modifier improvements for merging along edges. It's now called connected mode, while the default is called all. So the default doesn't change, but there is a new option where it's going to be merged along the edges. So with the recent performance improvement, the connected mode is in some cases only double the speed than the usual merge all strategy, but in other cases it can be even faster. So either twice as fast or even faster. The bottleneck is somewhere further down the line of merging geometry. So the motivation for this patch came from complex solidify crash with endguns. Wow, look, this is a bug report that is motivating a fix. Isn't that great? Well, actually, both the bug report and the fix is by the same developer, but hey, still, bug, please report your bugs because you're motivating people, developers. South Africa flag is really cool. Yes, I actually really like that one. It has so many colors. And yeah, the Dutch one is nice, but I like the hue of the blue maybe a bit better than the Luxembourg one. But yeah, Dutch people are gonna hate me after that. Let's continue. This is awesome. So it's actually faster, the Weld modifier, twice or even more. So super exciting. You know what else is exciting? Sculpting, which is like modeling, but with tools, with pushing and pulling and cutting and everything. Elastic deform type for snake hook. So this commit adds a deformation types to snake hook and the elastic deformation type. This mode deforms the mesh using a Kelvin-let instead of applying the displacement directly inside the brush radius, which is great for stylized shapes sketching. Whoa. There's so many ways to use the sculpt tools now. I already forgot all the improvements that were done. I think you have to use this every day to remember all the changes. It's awesome. So changes in the rake rotation when using elastic are too strong when set to 1. So I'll add a nicer way to support rake rotations with smoother transitions in the future. So smooth. That's super neat. In the chat, Goldenera says, hey, there is a bug in 2.9. Can you fix it, please? There's probably many bugs in 2.9, but you should point to the... every bug is meant to be fixed, but you should probably... if you already reported, go and check the report. Usually there is people by the Blender, like hired by Blender, to just triage bugs and just, yeah, test it and make sure that the report is correct and it's in the right place. And if you need more they need more information, they're gonna ask you. So always keep track of the bugs review report, please. Switching gears into Grease Pencil. So we go from a Spanish developer to another Spanish developer. The Spanish flag is also cool, but it's a bit too busy. Again, it has all these shields in it, but it's cool. No one cares about bugs in 2.9. What do you mean? No one cares. Of course everybody cares. Or maybe you mean 2.90. 2.90 is already gone, so there's nothing to fix. 2.91, it's the one you should be testing in. Or even then, actually, you should test in the builder.blender.org website and get the latest alpha and test that. Okay. Next, so what I wanted to show is that now you can actually link effects, grease pencil effects with using Ctrl L. So if you don't know this feature, you are missing out. Ctrl L allows you to link, which is a weird name because it doesn't really link. Like for example, it says link materials. Yeah, okay, materials make sense because materials is gonna share the same material, so they are technically linked. You change one material, it changes the one in the other object. But modifiers, no. Modifiers are per object, so they're not linked, they're just copied over. Effects also. And effects shouldn't show here. Should only show when you use a grease pencil object, right? Right now I have a object selected, a mesh, so it shouldn't show that. Or maybe grayed out. It should show it grayed out with an explanation in the tooltip. Why is it grayed out? Another improvement that actually I'm not sure is visible changes, but it's a change in the interpolation grease pencil. So add uniform subdivide Blender kernel to improve interpolation. So this patch introduces a new function that performs a uniform subdivide. The goal of this function is to subdivide the stroke to reach a target number of points while maintaining its shape, color, and weights. I don't think this is implemented anywhere yet, but the function is there. So it's probably part of a larger patch coming. But yeah, Blender 3.1, are we there yet? No, we are not yet. That actually next year, at this time of the year, we shall be talking about 3.1, I think. Yeah, I think so. And 3.2. Time flies when you have fun. You know what else is fun? The last section of the day. So in general, we have a is a small tweak in the user interface side of things. It's the click modifier icon to set active. So to set the modifier as active. So now you can also, if you have like multiple modifiers, you just click on the icon of the modifier to make it active. Before it wouldn't work, it would only collapse. So now you collapse with the triangle and you just make it active, which is great because it means that you can actually make active collapsed modifiers. Remember that this concept of an active modifier is new and it's implemented. So in the here in the geometry nodes editor, you can see the current active modifier. What else? These are very small updates. This one is for the industry compatible keymap. A few operators were missing there for handling the modifier shortcuts. For grease pencil modifier panels, for shader effects, and for constraint panels, they were missing the shortcuts. Now you can delete a modifier. Remember, this is only in the industry compatible keymap. You can delete a modifier by pressing backspace or delete. The same for grease pencil and shader effects and constraints. The next update is a cosmetic one by Yevgeny. He made it so now you can, when you get this error, do you recognize this error? Usually this is in Blender when you load a file that has a script in it, like a blend file that has a script that it's supposed to run on load. By default, Blender disables it for security reasons. It's really unlikely that it happens, but it could happen that you download a file from the internet and they can write a script, include it in that blend file, and if you have the automatic run, like if you have this setting on, they could do really bad things to your computer, like wipe it. Yeah, they could do really bad stuff. Yeah, that's why you get this warning, and that's why you get this greeting every time, just so you know that whatever your file you're loading, it's coming from a good source. All right, and good news for people that were running Blender 2.91 and getting a crash on startup. we got many reports on like having this behavior, like open Blender, crash, can't use it. Well, turns out that apparently some AMD graphics cards really old, that more than what Blender supports, like 8 to 10 years old, that was not supported, so they crashed. However, Blender shouldn't crash. It should tell you like, hey, your graphics card is old, please update, then more gently disappear. So now, so there was added a message last week, just mentioning like, hey, you need to update. However, somebody fixed the crash, so now it actually works. There is a workaround, actually by Cross. Thank you, Cross X. He made it so he fixed it in a patch. So now it's yeah, it's a workaround, render workaround, true. And no, it should be defined somewhere here. No, actually not. Okay, yeah. It's a workaround that makes Blender not crash on these very old graphics cards. And the same, I think, on Windows. There was a crash. There is a startup crash that happens in 2.91 on Windows, and there is a fix for this by Jeroen. So super nice. I'm running out of voice. Okay, now you're here wondering, where is the asset browser? Where is the asset browser? Why is it in the name of this? Why are you people so evil making clickbaits? Well, the developer has everything ready for it, except just writing good notes, release notes, the documentation, updating, like making it more like ready for action. So that's why it didn't make it here, but it should be in either today or tomorrow. Today, even though it's the end of the day, developers are crazy and they shouldn't, but they continue working. Work from home issues. Today or tomorrow, we should have the asset browser, the first version, as in the first implementation of the asset browser in. Then that will give developers what, 2 months more for adding more to make it more stable, more features. So what you're gonna get soon, it's insane. It's something that Blender has been needing for so long, but remember, it's gonna be very early stages, you know, like similar to the geometry nodes project that it was added, but it's very basic. You can only do a few things, but the idea is that these few things you can do it really well, polish them. Well, the basic functionality, you know, get a file, drop it, make an asset, reuse it in your own projects, all that. But yeah, don't expect, I don't know, online repos and all the crazy stuff. That's still not gonna be there. But the most important thing is that it will be there, and the patches are actually coming. So there are parts of it in Blender already, but it's just not exposed yet. So there, for example, there is an operator to load the custom preview images for data blocks, but it's not exposed yet. There is another support generating object preview images. So this is a maybe the add-on. Some add-ons can use this. If you have an add-on for making assets or an asset manager or whatever, then you can probably use this operator to create your own without having to reinvent the wheel. You can use this to make the previews of your objects. All right, let's jump into the questions, shall we? How much time we have? 45 minutes. No, 15 minutes. I'm running out of voice. I'm not usually that speak that much. Who speaks that much? Like 1 hour straight? How do radio people do it? Like they have shows that go for like 3 hours, 4 hours. How's the chat going? A person with ADHD? Nah, yeah. No, but there's medications for that. Let's start with the first question by alexei.all. Hello, Pablo. Hello, Alex. Hey. You say a while ago that make the Blender sequence editor great again project was launched. How is progress going? And is there any info when multi-threaded render GPU render on the sequencer will come? There is already a, you should check out, if you go to developer.blender.org, you're gonna find on the sidebar the VFX and video section. When you can see here, video sequence editor for the submodule, and in here you should be able to see, where is it in the workboard, that there is like the sequencer 2.0, video sequencer 2.0. I don't remember where's the task, but here, video sequencer 2.0, make the sequencer great again. Here's where you can follow the progress of this project. You can see that there's already some work being done. There is a lot of love, and some of these may already be implemented, but this is a task you should follow. Let's continue. Wow, somebody from Angola in the chat. It's morning over there. Here's almost 6 p.m. in the afternoon. Let's continue with the second question. Alamiam. Hey Pablo, well, let me, since I'm here, why not just share it? Just be nice here. And this is it. There. Hey Pablo, is there any hope for proper UV tools? Yes, of course there is, like better stretch, relax tools, and better unwrap algorithm being implemented. I know that UVs are on the roadmap, yes, that is correct, but it feels like no progress is being made. Things take time. I have an add-on for almost everything but relax. Stretch tools, nothing exists for it like pelt mapping or anything similar, and it makes complex organic models really hard to work with. UVs are such an important part of 3D, but it feels so neglected. I know how you feel, and I know there is people on pretty much every section of Blender. Ask the people from the sequence editor how they feel, or ask the animators how they feel, the rigging department. There are many areas that feel neglected, but it's just a matter of time until the developers pick up a specific area. In the case of the UV tools, however, we are very lucky because we have an artist that is like the person that is the stakeholder that is going to push for that section, for that area, with providing, okay, which are the tools that are needed, mockups on how should they work, giving feedback to the developer as they make the tools. So for that you can continue here. You can continue reading in, is it in modeling? No, texturing, should be in texturing. UV editing, it's a sub-module. That's not modeling. UV editing is different. But here in the workboard, you're gonna see all the tools and their progress, together with the fixes and the backlogs. These are bugs, so this should be in this column, right? I mean, I'm not gonna move it just in case, but it should be. But yeah, this is where you can follow the progress. But yeah, I'm sorry to say that, yeah, things take time. Development takes time. Next, Salai Bera Vidadan. Hey Pablo, just a small request. Could you share your current custom build with the new mockups for nodes? Maybe on graphical. It looks so pretty and would love to try it out. I'm afraid I don't know how to make. I use Linux, first of all, so you need Linux. But also, how do I pack it so it doesn't... I need to make it static linked, right? To put all the libraries there so everybody can use it. I'm not sure. I need to look up how to... yeah, I should do it. I should share it here in graphical. Or just give you the patch. I mean, the patch is really small. Like... The patch is really mainly rearranging things, but this is the Okay, maybe it's a bit big. This is the patch. So what I can do actually, while I'm here, git diff, and then just make it the UI.diff, and then I can just basically share this with you guys and everybody, and somebody that builds for Windows can make it, because I assume you use Windows. Let's see. So I go to source and I have the file, and this is my diff, and I'm gonna go to pasteall.org and paste here the diff and paste, and here it is. Alrighty, so I can put this in the comment, and this is the patch to make it look like that. Don't look at the code, please. just look at the end result. Don't look at the code. I still need to clean it. All right, David Mani asks, what is going on with Animation 2020? When will we see the Gooseberry sequels? Yeah, Gooseberry sequels, wouldn't count on it anytime soon. Animation 2020, yes, we have what, 17 days for Animation 2020 to happen. It's not gonna happen as what the entire project means, you know, like Animation 2020 was this huge thing. We know what happened in 2020. However, I personally, I am pretty happy with the end results of animation in the last releases, because if you look at what was done, there was development actually in the Animation 2020 department. Library overrides, that's part of animation. If for animation studio, being able to have the same character but with multiple actions, so you can reuse them, that wasn't possible before. And with library overrides, you can have one bird and instance it 5 times and have 5 different flights in the same file coming all from one character blend file. That is huge. Also, release notes. If you go to the release notes of 291 and 290, if you go to animation, these little things, which look little, but they're huge. The evaluation of the curves, so you can have more sudden movements. This little fix, so when you add a keyframe, it preserves the shape. Then active keyframe, the concept of an active keyframe for F curves, copy to selected for keyframes, all the NLA improvements that actually make the NLA feel more like animation layers, but with the NLA. That's awesome. Constraints. In 2.90 also there were improvements in animation for the graph editor, for the dependency graph, for drivers. There was plenty. So and there will be more coming. So I'm not disappointed for 2020, Animation 2020. I'm actually pretty happy. But yeah, expect more in the future. Blender. Oh, there is a big announcement. I can't really say. All right, expect announcement this week, and it's related with animation. And yeah, expect with more like funding the animation project. Let's continue. It's not like a new feature suddenly. Whoa, Animation 20, like timeless, no frame concept. It's a new concept for the animation. Animate over time. Isn't that what people do already? Yeah, but in 4 dimensions. I don't know. No, it's not that, unfortunately. All right. People are shouting, my friends in Spanish. We'll still have the Blender Today in Spanish. Yeah, we will have it. In 1 hour, I will start the same show in Spanish in youtube.com/BlenderHoy. So if you speak Espanol, see you there in 1 hour. I didn't make the event yet, but I'm gonna make it. Let's continue. Next question is, hey Pablo, any plans on letting users select the curve in the graph editor? I really hate not being able to select the curve, especially when the keyframe location overlaps themselves. What do you mean select the curve? You can select the curve. Let's make a great, fantastic animation here. So if you insert the keyframe and you go here, Control Tab to switch to the graph editor. Oh, great. I was in the same frame. Okay, there. Yeah, to select the curve, you can just double click on the channel and it will select the channel, or you can press the L to select the entire curve, or you can do K to select the entire keyframe. Oops. To select the entire keyframe. So there are ways to select it. If I understood correctly, sorry if I didn't. Let's continue. You tease us for 3 weeks now. No. Thank you, Mind Visual, for my feliz cumpleaños. It's gonna be tomorrow. Actually, for the person that was in Angola, it's my birthday over there. Shift H, but that will hide all the rest. I don't want that. That isolate. That's a different one. Somebody has been suggesting that clicking on here, or like on the eye, or here, it would do this basically. What do you think? So you can see only one at a time. It's kind of I don't know. Should be an option, of course, but I don't know. Next question. Klutz says, hey, happy birthday, Pablo. Thank you very much. You get the heart before I even read the question. Wikimedia needs good Blender renders. All the Wikipedia editions are excellent showcases for what can be done in Blender 3D. Upload them to Wikimedia page. Place them in the category Blender software. Makes the license is Creative Commons share alike. Awesome. Well, you know that every Blender release splash screen is Creative Commons attribution. Of course, you need to put the attribution and everything. But yeah, you can already use those. You can upload those. You don't need to even to ask the artists. But to get the new ones, I would probably go to get new artwork. I would go to Blender Artist or ArtStation. Next, Pablo Gentile says, hi Pablo, any word about the support for the new M1 Max? Is there any hope for the future of Mac support? Thank you as always. Have you start a wonderful year tomorrow. Thank you. Hope for M1s? Yes, yeah. Actually, there is a patch going around in the Twitter Stefan Werner. Here, he has been sharing. Here's my Apple Silicon build. So even share a new M1 capable build that should work. But yeah, follow him for for everything, really, for everything that is related to tangent animation, Mac cycles stuff, and much more. And this, which I don't know what it is. Stefan Werner, or Stefan_3D. Stefan with F. Alright, next. Hi Pablo, I like your no design, so cool, thank you. One thing which seems to just bother me is that the sliders are already hard to control on very small numbers. Yes, they are hard to control on small numbers. You know you can press shift when you move a slider. If you hold shift, it's gonna go in very, very small values, and that applies to everything, even the color picker here. If you press shift, it's gonna go, if you hold shift, it's gonna go in really small numbers, but the shift works everywhere. So if you go shift, it goes very small values. If because this value is set by hand, like how precise it is, if there is a slider that it misbehaves, that even when pressing shift it's just way too broad, report it, because maybe it's easy to fix, or mentioning here, and maybe it's easy to fix. But every slider, basically every slider in Blender has to get this treatment. It has to go and see, okay, where is the minimum value, the maximum value, and in which steps it will slide or snap to. let's see. Hey Pablo, love your mockups on the geometry nodes UI, says Danielle. I noticed there's an eye icon. I assume this is to highlight that particular node and make whatever steps in it visible in the viewport. Is that how it should work? So I was curious what the point of the geometry output node serves. Yeah, I should add descriptions to this, or maybe not. So what you are sharing here, oh, it's actually stretched. If you go to, yeah, where I share, these are my mockups. This is nothing official yet, just my mockups of how I would like the nodes to be. I made this with the HTML and CSS, and I have some demos. So for example, this is what I think. So first of all, I think we should get rid of the viewer node. We should just, yeah, doesn't make sense. For some things it makes sense. For the compositor it makes sense if you want to see those images in the image editor. But as soon as you have a backdrop, it's not really handy anymore. You have to go and find where the viewer node is, or use a shortcut. But I mean, if you're gonna use a shortcut, why not just having a toggle? Also, if you have a toggle in the node itself, you can just do it and without having a cable going around from this node to the viewer to whatever, who knows where it is. So yeah, that's one of the motivations behind it. But yeah, these are just mockups. There is nothing implemented yet. This is a mockup of the reroute. This is the active node, and these are the selected nodes, and this one is the active node. And there is also a geometry spreadsheet, and there is a viewer which I still don't have implemented. But yeah, some shortcuts even work here. You can press M to mute. Even to mute multiple, and you can also press Ctrl+Shift+Click to make compatible. And also this drop down up here, like the idea is that you have some info just to have a kind of a viewer node, but for geometry nodes. Sometimes if you have a math node, there is really no way of viewing some operations in the viewport. Doesn't make sense. But you still want to know what is the output, what is the number, what is the type, the attribute, there are so many things that you could know. The same with, like, you could hover over a socket and know which type it is. Right now you have to remember, okay, it's a geometry type, it's an attribute. Remember, in Blender you have two ways of working with this, with the nodes. You can work with the values here. Okay, here's a question for you. What do you prefer? Which way of working you prefer? Blender has two ways of working right now. One is to have the values in the node, and then it has this mode also, which is working with the values on the sidebar. What do you prefer? And this applies to every node. You hide it, and basically this is, yeah, if you have this connected, you can basically work with the one on the side. Values on the sidebar, in the node, on the node, in the node, values in the node. Okay, 4 or 5 votes that stay as it is. In the node, sidebar, sidebar, takes up more viewing space in the node. Interesting. Most of people like it in the nodes, and I really like that, because yeah, both. Blender has both now, and that's not gonna change at all. That's not gonna happen. Thank you again for the happy birthday. But I like it because I think having the settings in the node is really Blender-like, right? Like this, you don't see it in other softwares that much. People mostly rely on a separate editor. So yeah, both. Awesome. Okay, I think we're running out of time. Let's do 3 more questions. So what is it? What was the question? Sorry. The icon. Yeah, the icon was a viewer, the concept of a viewer node. Question number 2. Hey Pablo, will the asset browser be as cool as this Blender add-on? As the Andrew Peel has a lot of experience with it, and he even has new versions. You made Blender Pro also, right? The theme template. And now Particle Painter. And there is another one. There is the Home Builder. And there was the... Yeah, there are many names for this. It was also like Fluid Blender. Anyway, I love this concept, and it's gonna be similar to this concept of dragging and dropping, basically. But yeah, built in Blender, as part of a built-in Blender. Not an add-on, as an actual part of the software. Oh, and I closed the Blender.Today page. Okay, let's go to the first one and the last one. Hello Pablo, since I upgraded to Blender 291, Blender automatically marks sharp around UV seams. What? It assumes does it. I assume it does it after UV mapping. Is there a way to disable this feature? Automatically marks sharp around UV seams. No, it shouldn't. Yeah, UV seams and sharp are two different properties. That sounds like a bug to me, at least. Yeah, my man, how do you get the time to actually develop with the amount of meeting you guys have? Yeah, meetings sometimes are too much, but many times are really handy because you have the mind more clear to know what you're gonna develop next, so it's more clear. And okay, since I have it here, the last one. Hi Pablo, it's always an adventure to guess whether there will be in the stream or not. Now you are. Happy birthday tomorrow, thank you. Never get all that boring. Never. Last time I told you about one of my secret shenanigans with cycled code. Here's the time to spill the beans. This is a spread parameter for ambient occlusion. Follow the link for the explanation and pictures. I hope the developers team will find this useful and quite a possibility to implement. Let's see. So it's a new spread value. Okay, 0.9. This is very clear explanation. Okay, super sharp AO. That's interesting. Do you know what's the motivation? So why it might be needed? More flexible masks with AO. So what would be the advantage of having this as opposed to, for example, a ambient occlusion and a color ramp? Like, looks really cool for NPR, yes. Speak Spanish, yes, I speak Spanish, and I make Blender today in Espanol in 1 hour or so. Here, Blender. Okay, I gotta run because otherwise I'm not gonna manage to make this live stream. I'm just pretty happy with what we saw today, with all the happy thoughts. Thank you, people. It's been fantastic. I started Blender today when I was like 31, 32. Now tomorrow I'm gonna be 34 years old, which I know is not a lot, but it's you know, when you map it to events. Like, I started using Blender when I was less than half my age. I was 14, 15 years old when I started using Blender. Then I got my first, and then I started doing my really crappy jobs making wallpapers for phones, but the phones were like this big. The backgrounds were like 300 pixels back then. I with Blender when I was maybe 16. Then at 18, 19, I got my first job at making a feature film with Blender in Buenos Aires. Then at 21, I started working at the Blender studio, Blender Institute, when I was 21. And now I'm gonna be 34 tomorrow and still working at the Blender Institute. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Well, that wasn't a lot of milestones. Started working at the Blender Institute 21 and still working on it 34. That sounds like a lot, but it's cool. It's cool to stick with one company, one place, one project, one community. Thank you, everybody, for all the sounds like job security. Yeah, it feels very safe. Actually, I have to go this week to the studio to sign the contract that makes it indefinite, because I started way before we even had contracts for like more officially working at the studio. So I think we never really signed something that says indefinite. It was more like this many years. So that's super nice. It's good to stick around, and for you, thank you for sticking around until the end of the show. It's been a fantastic show. Let's do it again, right? Shall we? Let's do it again next week. Same place, same time. It's gonna be the 21st of December. We're gonna have an asset browser next week by this time. We're gonna have more geometry nodes. And who knows what else, because there's still 2 days left for people to contribute, for developers to add their own features, the new features that will make Blender 2.92. And then we have to see how do we feel the rest of the show, because it's gonna be pretty people are gonna go on holidays as much as possible. We know the reasons, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting times. Let's meet again next week, same place, same time, for another episode of Blender Today Live. Gracias. Build the stream. Oh yeah, I think I'm gonna stream on my channel tomorrow in English, Spanish, I don't know, YouTube. Yeah, you don't have to. It's not gonna be Blender related, of course. I'm gonna hang out in the chat. See you tomorrow. No, oh yeah, maybe see you tomorrow. Otherwise, I will see you next week, same place, same time.